I'm Michael McCusker, a Tableau tech lead and a co-lead at the San Diego and Data Pride Tableau user groups, and I have two tips for you today. The first of them is a tip that I ran out of time for and couldn't share at Tableau conference, all about using dynamic zone visibility to control individual elements of your dashboard. For instance, I have this dashboard here with 9 metrics, and the bottom right hand metric is all about inspections, and I only want my inspection team to be able to view this. As a bit of orientation, my Tableau Cloud has 2 users, Michael McCusker and not Michael McCusker, and 1 user group, the inspection team. Tableau allows us to write a calculation that checks whether the person that is signed in and looking at the dashboard is part of a particular user group on your server or cloud. And that calculation uses the function is member of. And then we just hard code the name of the user group into that. Tableau also allows us to mimic the experience of another user from our server or cloud. So just now, whilst Michael McCusker is signed in, that calculation returns true. But if not Michael McCusker is signed in, that calculation returns false. So we can use that true-false calculation to drive dynamic zone visibility on the dashboard. So selecting this KPI card, coming up to layout, checking the box that says control visibility using value, and then just selecting that calculation that we just looked at. And now when the inspection team looks at this dashboard, they see the metric, and anybody not on the inspection team, they only see these 8 metrics. And that allows us to use dynamic zone visibility and prevent us having from building and maintaining 2 separate dashboards for 2 different teams. My next tip is all about dummy fields. Now, dummy fields are really versatile in Tableau. You'll see them in a lot of builds about creating a point where without using anything in your data set. And one such use case might be in this button example here, where you have a number of buttons that you want your user to interact with, or maybe a custom table with different mark types in each column. And whilst these are very versatile, they do have a few downsides. For one, they're quite messy. You'll notice this marks card has sum of 0, sum of 0, 2, 3, 4, etc. And if I were to add another column to this table, that marks card actually collapses down into this view here, making it even harder to find the thing that you're looking for. Moreover, when you are trying to apply new buttons, for instance, there's quite a lot of steps to go through. So I'll double click up in columns, maybe do sum of 0, and that's going to give me another marks card. In that marks card, I need a label, so another dummy field. Onto label. And with dummy fields, you need to, if they're driving a parameter action, it's 1 parameter action for every option in your field. So if I look at my parameter actions, I have 1 for A, B, and C, but I don't have 1 for D. So I need to come in and write yet another parameter action. Where I use the D field. And that's a lot of steps to go through to build out a button. So what would be good is if we can take that functionality of dummy fields and turn them into smart fields perhaps. So this time, instead of writing sum of 0, average of 0, I'm going to write it slightly differently, and I'll show you in a calculated field pane, just because it's a little hard to visualize otherwise, where I will do 2 forward slashes first of all, and then the column name, and then hold down Shift and Enter to move down to a new line, and then just use 0. So let me apply that up in the column shelf. So 2 forward slashes and then an A, and then Shift and Enter and 0. And that gives me my first dummy field. I'll repeat that, 2 forward slashes, and this time B, Shift and Enter, and then 0. And that gives me my second dummy field. And with those 2, I'm just going to select them and copy them, double click into them to change the names out very, very easily. And this time, with the marks card, you'll notice it's much more organized. I can see which marks card is for A, B, C, and D. And in order to add labels, I don't need to go into each marks card. Now I can actually just use measure names onto labels, and that's going to bring A, B, C, and D with me. Moreover, when it comes to writing a parameter action, I only have to do one. I don't have to do four. So this time the parameter action is going to be update smart parameter, and that can also use the measure names field. Clicking on OK and OK again. On the right hand side you can see my parameter update as I click through A, B, C and D. And what's particularly helpful is if I change the names of any of these columns, maybe I do tiny tip, you can see the labels change automatically, but also my parameter action continues to work. Whereas if I were to change the fields using dummy fields, the parameter action is going to break. And it's really, really easy to add lots of extra fields onto this view without having to worry about parameter actions. Your marks card always stays updated. The only thing you have to do is come in, double click on a particular field and update that accordingly. And that is smart fields in Tableau, and that is my tiny Tableau tip. Thank you very much.